Just before stepping into the sunlight, the man suddenly stopped in his tracks, as if the sunlight before him were a wild beast. He dared not take another step forward. This scene was noticed by a nearby missionary. Dracula saw the missionary, quickly suppressing the panic in his heart, and turned to swiftly walk away. But the missionary, intrigued by his unusual behavior, immediately followed him with long strides. Dracula could only flee through the shadowed corners, no matter where he hid. The missionary followed closely behind. In the midst of panic, Dracula rushed into a blacksmith's shop. While he was anxiously looking for another way out, the missionary had already reached behind him.
The vampire is vulnerable to daylight. And to pure silver. Yet the Holy Cross exerts no power over you. That can only mean you have yet to seal your fate with human blood. Let me kill you now, my prince. Please.
The blacksmith in the shop turned pale upon hearing the missionary shout vampire. His face instantly changed, full of terror. Exterminating vampires was the missionary's duty, and Dracula knew it well. But with enemies surrounding them, he as a prince could not surrender at this moment. Seeing Dracula still resisting, the missionary swung his sword and cut the curtain blocking the sunlight. Sunlight poured in instantly. Dracula's skin was exposed to the sunlight and immediately began to burn and blister. The surrounding villagers and soldiers gathered around, holding torches high, trying to burn the vampiric Dracula alive. Amidst the hateful curses, the fire grew stronger. At this moment, Dracula's wife, Marina, helplessly called his name. Suddenly, black smoke rose in the blacksmith's shop, quickly blocking out the sun. Dracula slowly emerged from the flames, his face marked by the sunlight's burn, while the rest of his body remained unscathed. Seeing these ungrateful subjects, Dracula's anger reached its peak.
This is your loyalty, your gratitude. Fools. You are alive because of me, because of what I did to save you.
Only his wife Marina understood his grievance, gently soothing Dracula's emotions. Dracula gradually calmed down, having to set this matter aside for the time being, because the Turkish army was about to besiege the city. To protect his people, King Dracula had no other choice. He had to become a vampire, in order to have a chance to win this war. At that time, the Ottoman Empire was waging wars everywhere. Dracula, in a stream within his territory, discovered the helmet of a Turkish scout. He knew well that the scouts would never operate alone, so he immediately strengthened defenses throughout his territory, and personally led 2 subordinates upstream to investigate. At the end of the stream stood a mountain called Cliffall. Midway up, Dracula discovered a pitch-dark cave. For safety, he decided to investigate inside. But just as they entered, a swarm of bats suddenly burst out. This immediately caught Dracula's attention, as the bats must have been startled, indicating that something was definitely inside the cave. They slowly ventured into the cave, and after lighting torches, they saw Turkish soldier armor scattered around, clearly devoured completely by something. The lead subordinate saw the monster, and was dragged into the darkness the next moment. Seeing this, Dracula immediately fled with the remaining men toward the exit. But after only a few steps, another subordinate was also taken by the monster. Dracula exerted all his strength to reach the cave mouth, with only a few steps remaining. Yet the monster suddenly stopped, and slowly retreated into the darkness. As Dracula struggled to calm himself, he noticed the bloodstains of the monster on his sword mysteriously vanish in the sunlight. He quickly left the cave and rushed back to the castle immediately, telling the priest what he had witnessed in the cave, but the priest seemed to already know about it. It turned out that 4 days ago, all the priests had the same dream. The monster in the dream was exactly what Dracula saw in the cave, and that monster was the progenitor of vampires. The progenitor was originally an ordinary person, but to gain greater power he summoned a demon from hell and made a pact with it. The demon granted his wish, at the cost of being trapped forever in the dark cave, until someone willingly became the next vampire. Then he could regain his freedom. Dracula originally thought that as long as he avoided the cave, nothing more would happen, but he had forgotten about the disappearance of Turkish soldiers in his territory. Sure enough, on Easter, while everyone was celebrating, a Turkish envoy suddenly appeared, to collect tribute under the Sultan's orders. Dracula had the prepared silver coins brought out, but the envoy said the Sultan had new demands. Dracula told the envoy to take the coins and leave quickly, but the envoy said the money was not enough.
The Sultan requires 1,000 boys to join his Janissary Corps.
Upon hearing this, those around could not remain calm. Clearly, the Sultan was deliberately targeting Dracula this time. Dracula's anger reached its peak. He did not want his people humiliated. At this time, the ministers advised him to submit to the Sultan, as it was not just a personal choice but the survival of the entire territory. After careful consideration, Dracula went to the Turkish army camp, hoping the Sultan would cancel the demand for 1,000 children. But the Sultan insisted on 1,000 boys, not a single one less, and even demanded Dracula send his own son. The Sultan's ambition and bloodthirstiness led Dracula to decide not to remain his vassal. With a vast difference in strength, facing a seemingly hopeless war, Dracula could only seek another way. He looked toward Cliffall, knowing that to win the war, he had to harness the power of darkness. This time, Dracula finally met the vampire progenitor. Any normal person who could leave the cave alive would never return. Dracula explained that he came to harness the power of darkness to defend against the approaching Turkish army. But these matters had nothing to do with the progenitor. All he wanted was to regain freedom. Thus, the vampire progenitor decided to help Dracula gain power. Dark power surged into Dracula's body. Fear and death vanished without a trace. He was no longer a mere mortal. He became the king of the night, mastering darkness, mastering his destiny.